Chairman, thank you. Thank you to all three of you and the service that you give to the country on this. We do have lots of questions just about process and how things are going on this. Secretary Mayorkas, you and I have talked about Title 42 for about 18 months. And I've asked you the question, what happens when Title 42 goes away? And for 18 months, you've said, we're working on it. Well, Judge Sullivan just stepped in and unilaterally canceled out Title 42. So we're in this very odd situation right now where DHS is in one court asking to extend Title 42 a little longer, and in another court asking to cancel Title 42 altogether. But we're still waiting to try to figure out what happens now and how many people are about to cross the border. What's the plan for dealing with this mass migration, illegal immigration coming now post-Title 42?
Senator, what we requested of Judge Sullivan in the District Court of D.C. was an orderly wind-down period of 35 days, and which was unopposed and which was granted by the court. What we are doing is precisely what we announced we would do in April of this year, and we have indeed been executing on the plan. It's a six different lines of effort, and I will review them very, very quickly given the limited time. Surging resources to the southern border, including personnel, technology, facilities capabilities, and transportation, medical support. 2, increasing our Customs and Border Protection processing efficiency to mitigate potential overcrowding. We've been digitizing, for example, our electronic A files, the immigration files, when individuals are placed in proceedings. We are 3, enhancing the consequences for unlawful entry, especially with respect to individuals who seek to evade law enforcement, including removal, detention, and criminal prosecution when warranted. 4, we are seeking to bolster the capacity of nonprofit organizations, state and local officials, and working very closely with them. 5th, we are targeting and disrupting the smuggling organizations and the transnational criminal organizations. In fact, we have effected more than 5,000 arrests and more than 6,000 disruption events. And that means arrests of individuals, the breakdown of smuggling of stash houses, the seizure of the instrumentalities that these smuggling organizations use. And 6, we're working with our partners to the south to deter irregular migration. And I spoke earlier in response to Ranking Member Portman's question about the fact that this is a tremendous hemispheric challenge. We are seeing the movement of people, and the demographics of the population that we are encountering at the border has changed dramatically.
It has, and there's a couple of big challenges in this. One is the numbers just came in for October. It's the 3rd highest number in recorded history. So while those things were implemented, the numbers continue to accelerate, and this goes back to the estimates when Title 42 goes away. There was an expectation from Intel to be able to say these numbers will surge even greater. You built a Venezuelan policy on trying to be able to deter Venezuelans based on Title 42. That just went away. And so what we're trying to figure out is what is the plan, because the plan you just articulated has led to the 3rd highest number for any single month in history.
So there are a few points, if I may, Senator, and thank you. Number one, the number of encounters is not equal to the number of unique individuals.
Correct. Yeah, we know that. Yep.
Because Title 42 creates a potential for the ease of recidivism, number one. Number 2, we're working with our partners to the south, with Mexico, with respect to the end of Title 42, and whether we will be able to continue our thus far successful program with respect to Venezuelan nationals and use our Title 8 authorities. But we also have other opportunities ahead of us because, as we sought to do earlier, and we will resume this effort, is an enhanced use of expedited removal, which is a Title 8 authority. So we're looking at our consequence regimes and how we can most effectively employ them.
A lot of people counting on these numbers coming down, and they're not. They're going up, and they continue to be able to rise. And so while we're examining these things and looking at it, the numbers continue to rise on this with the end of Title 42 coming in 35 days. We expect it's going to accelerate even higher. There is an expectation that your department is going to change this number dramatically. Let me ask a point-blank question that's challenging on this. What percentage of the individuals that are encountered at our southern border do we know their criminal history from the country they're coming from? I'm not talking about if they have an American criminal history or they're on our terror watch list, that we know their criminal history of the country they're coming from. Do we know that history?
I will have to get back to you on that, Senator, whether we have the capability of identifying the percentage, which is what you have.
It is my understanding that we don't know the criminal history of the vast majority. Can you give me an estimate on this? I'm not asking for a 0.8%, but give me a guess.
I understand. I'm quite hesitant to guess on information that is so important to our mission, but I will certainly get back to you with whatever information we can provide.
It is incredibly important because I think there's an assumption that the American people feel that the 2 million plus individuals that were encountered just in the last 12 months have been vetted in some way at our southern border or they've been checked. And we don't know if these individuals are fleeing poverty or fleeing from the law.
Oh, if I
We
may,
don't know. I mean, there is a check to see if they have an American criminal history record, but we don't know if they have a criminal history record or where they're coming from.
So as my colleagues here will attest as well, Senator, we conduct screening and vetting of individuals whom we encounter. We have a robust screening and vetting process. It actually is recurrent vetting, and it is not just with respect to criminal history in the United States.
I'd like to give them a good guess of how many people we know their criminal history when they come in then.
As I mentioned, Senator, I'll get back to you and see if we have that data, and if so, I will certainly provide it to you.
That would be great. Thank you. We have asked your team, and you and I have talked about it before, about the information for the NPP and the decision-making process for the Remain in Mexico policy on this. We asked about that for a while. We just recently got a letter back saying that there are no responsive documents that have been withheld. Basically, you have everything that we would have, but the implication then is the decision-making process of who qualifies for the MPP and who does not was left up to a case-by-case basis, and there are no guidance documents. I find that hard to believe, that there were no guidance documents given to anyone on your team anywhere along the border on how to be able to decide, yet your team is so far telling me, hey, we don't have anything. We never printed anything. I find that exceptionally hard to believe. I'd like to be able to follow up and be able to get access to those documents.
I look forward to discussing that with you because I certainly have some very important points to make in response to your concern.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Lankford. Senator Scott, you're recognized for your questions.